everyone, and welcome back to the Worm Whisperer channel, where we do tutorials on how to farm worms, otherwise known as vermicomposting. If you enjoy the new content, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for new videos. In today's video, we are going to review what you should know when buying worm castings. I review some great questions about buying worm castings later in the video, so please don't forget to stay tuned. Worm Castings Buyer Guide. Navigating the world of purchasing worm castings can seem daunting, especially when considering the myriad of questions that might surface. Are they worth the money? Are there any disadvantages? Should I make my own or buy them? To guide you through this terrain, I've compiled key information to assist your decision-making process for you and your beautiful garden. Are worm castings worth money? To say that worm castings are worth money would be an understatement. They are incredibly rich in nutrients, offering a broad spectrum of essential minerals and microorganisms that aid in plant growth and viability. Furthermore, worm castings enhance soil structure, promote root growth, and help protect your plants against diseases. The disadvantages of worm castings. Despite the many benefits of worm castings, there are a few potential downsides. The cost can be high compared to other forms of compost, especially if you require a large quantity. Another potential disadvantage is availability. Not all local garden stores carry worm castings. Should I buy worm castings or should I make my own? Whether you should buy worm castings or make your own depends on several factors, including cost, time, and space considerations. Let me explore with you these two options in detail. All about buying worm castings. The major advantage of buying worm castings is convenience. The product is readily available and you can immediately start enriching your garden without any delay. It's an excellent option if you need a large quantity quickly or if you don't have the space or time to set up and maintain a worm farm. However, the convenience comes at a cost. Commercial worm castings can be pricey, especially if you're adding them to a large garden. In addition, the quality can vary depending on the supplier. When buying, you should look for a trusted supplier who provides high-quality, nutrient-rich worm castings. Is finding worms in your bought worm castings good or a bad thing? When you find a few worms in your worm casting bag, this is a great thing. This means that the worms castings are alive and fresh. The little worms didn't get filtered out in the packaging and are happily living in the bag of worm castings. Many times you will see small holes punched in the top of the worm castings bag. This is so that our little worm friends are able to breathe until you free them. Making your own worm castings. Making your own worm castings involves starting a vermicomposting system or worm farm. This can be a rewarding venture. Not only do you save money in the long run, but you also gain complete control over the quality of your worm castings. It's a sustainable, environmentally friendly option as you can convert your kitchen waste into nutrient-rich castings. Setting up a worm farm requires an initial investment in a worm bin and purchasing your starter batch of worms. You also need to dedicate time to maintaining the worm farm, feeding the worms, and harvesting the castings. This process requires some learning and adjustment, especially if you are new to vermicomposting. I have lots of great worm farming videos on my channel if you'd like to learn. Another point to consider is space. A small worm bin might suffice for a small, modest home garden, but for larger landscapes, you'll need something more significant in your setup. Worm castings versus regular compost, which is better? Both worm castings and compost have their merits. While compost is great for improving soil structure and recycling kitchen waste, worm castings offer a higher concentration of nutrients, making them a superior choice for promoting healthy plants. Overusing worm castings. Worm castings are unlikely to cause harm if overused. They are gentle on plant roots. However, using excessive amounts might not provide any additional benefits to your plants, so it is more economical to use them judiciously. You could, in fact, grow any type of plant in pure worm castings and have amazing healthy plants. However, I don't recommend this as you can get the same results using castings mixed with soil for the best results. Do purchased worm castings have worm eggs in them? Purchased worm castings may contain worm eggs, also known as cocoons. These can hatch in your soil, providing the added benefit of your worms to aid in soil aeration and nutrient recycling. The worms will not harm your plants in any way. However, if you have them in pots, never use any salt-based fertilizers in your containers, as it can and most likely will harm your little worm friends. How long do purchased worm castings stay fresh in the bag? Sealed with air holes, stored properly, and kept at a stable temperature, worm castings can stay fresh for up to 2 years. So what do I mean when I say fresh? Well, there are millions of microorganisms in your worm castings that have amazing benefits for your plants and garden. So fresh worm castings means that the worm castings are still alive. To keep your castings fresh, you will need to never let them completely dry out and stir them occasionally, creating new air pockets for the microorganisms to live. How long will your worm castings last in your soil? Once introduced to the soil, the benefits of worm castings can be present for up to 6 months depending on the plant type and soil conditions. Do worm castings bring worms? While worm castings may contain worm eggs that can hatch, the castings themselves do not attract worms. However, improving soil health may make the rest of your environment more conducive to more worms. Do bagged worm castings go bad? If kept dry in a cool place and not subject to extreme temperatures, bagged worm castings should not go bad. However, if they become excessively dry, they may lose some of their beneficial microbial activity. Do worm castings repel bugs? Some studies suggest that worm castings can help repel certain types of pests. They may contain chitinase, an enzyme that degrades chitin, a key component of exoskeletons of many insects. Well, that's it for today's worm farming video. I hope you all enjoyed the video and maybe learned something new today. Happy worm farming, everyone, and I will see you in the next video.